Jeeva Sam, a sought-after pastor in Canadian congregations for 35 plus years. He is a spiritual mentor to many in the marketplace to help them reach their full potential. He and his beautiful wife, Sulojana, are successful marriage mentors and #1 international best-selling authors of The Unbreakable Marriage. They carry blueprint to guarantee breakthrough for marriage couples facing breakdown, often in as little as 10 weeks. The Sams celebrated the 40th anniversary of their arranged marriage in August 2023. Here is Jeeva Sam.
Jeeva, what advice would you give to someone who is single and looking for a life partner?
Well, most of us are attracted to someone because of their good looks and personality and a lot of the external factors. What I would suggest to single people today is go deeper. Look for what values the other person has that you also have in common. And if there's a serious conflict there, then you need to be very careful about stepping into a relationship with them, let alone going into marriage. One of the things that we have discovered in mentoring couples is how many couples haven't really talked about the deep issues of life and even some very practical matters, like things like how to handle finances. All of a sudden they get together and it's like, you carry how much debt? And so there's a lot of surprises that could be avoided, if you are not afraid to ask those questions. I think sometimes people are afraid to ask because, well, what if I ask that kind of question and now they don't like me as a result? And so, because ultimately there will come a day when your good looks will not carry the day for you. There will come a day when personalities will change. You will go through some adversity together. I'm not predicting that, but that's just the reality of life. And so what will keep you together is those common values on which you completely agree with each other, that there will be no way for you to experience any kind of breakdown if you stand together.
You and Sulojana have written a book, The Unbreakable Marriage. It's such a great book. In this book, you mentioned that it's not just about finding the right person to marry. It's also about becoming the right person for the one you married. Would you elaborate more on that?
Well, I think in many of our cultures, we place such a huge emphasis on finding the right person. And what that often means is it puts a lot of stress on us, not just stress on us, but it almost becomes a bit of a process where we have to go through several imperfect ones before we find the perfect match. And so in the process, we find a lot of hearts are broken. Sometimes lives are altered, unfortunately, in a very unpleasant way. And so rather than put the emphasis on, I got to find the right person, and go with that kind of a stress, in our case, with our faith, one of the things we say, okay, God, show me the person that you want me to spend the rest of my life with. And then, when someone becomes clear, then focus on building life with that person, because ultimately, love is a decision. Marriage is a choice that you make, and you're never going to find the perfect partner, but you can find someone who's perfect for you because you complement each other very well. And so once you make the decision that you're going to get married to this person, spend the rest of your life with them, then your focus now is on becoming the best person that you can be for them in every way. And so your strengths will complement their weaknesses and vice versa. And you focus on their dreams, their desires, and not just try and live out your own dreams and desires. And that's how you become the right person for the one that you married, rather than just focusing on finding the right person.
According to some statistics, the average global divorce rate is around 40 to 50%, while the divorce rate for arranged marriages is around 1 to 4%. Would you shed some light on why that might be the case?
Okay. Well, arranged marriages, is basically your parents bring you together. And you trust the judgment of your parents, that they have done the vetting process. You didn't have to go about finding the right person. And so because you trust that they have done their homework and they would not propose to you that you marry this particular person who they believe is a good match for you, then your focus now becomes on, again, in some ways, how do I make my marriage right with this person? When Sulojana and I were growing up, we heard our parents say repeatedly, divorce is not a word that is found in our dictionary. And so you basically go into marriage, with the attitude that, we're going to find a way to make this thing work. Not that if things don't work out, we'll get a divorce. At least when I was growing up, in the Indian culture, nobody would ever go into marriage with that attitude. I believe things are changing now a little bit because of the influence of Western culture. However, when you go in with that attitude, then you're going to make the marriage work. You're going to make the marriage last. And I also want to mention to you that in the arranged marriage culture, which is not just Indian but other ethnic minorities as well, there's a strong support structure that is built around you. So you have your family, quite often extended family. In the Indian culture, anybody that is a little bit older than you call them auntie and uncle, even if they're not related to you. And there's always someone that you can lean on, someone that you can share some things with. That'll provide you with some wise counsel that will guide you through. Unfortunately, a lot of couples do not seek help early enough when they run into issues, or they just suffer in silence and come to what I believe are often very mistaken conclusions that we're not meant for each other. We made a wrong choice when we married each other. And sometimes I joke and say, well, were you deaf, blind, and dumb when you first met? How could you have married the wrong person? No, that's not the reason. It's just that the will to make it right with this person is not there anymore. Whereas in an arranged marriage, you pretty well, like, it's the back door is locked. There's no back door.
As a successful marriage coach with your beautiful wife, Sulojana, what are some key steps that you could recommend to restore a marriage that seems to be having some difficulties?
Well, our process basically begins by helping a couple shift the atmosphere in which they live out their marriage. Because by the time couples come to us, most of them are at the point of breaking down. That's really our specialty. And so their atmosphere in their home, in their marriage is extremely toxic. And so there's a lot of anger, bitterness that is built up. And, these are not good emotions, to either express or keep suppressed in a marriage. And so I look at it a little bit like a greenhouse. If you want plants to thrive in a greenhouse and you have toxic fumes in that greenhouse, you can have the best plants in the world. You can offer them the best fertilizer and everything else can be right. But if the atmosphere is toxic, the growth will be stunted. And so that's the same thing in a marriage. So the first thing we teach couples is to fix the atmosphere, shift the atmosphere. And secondly, we find that you need to have a breakthrough personally, before you can have a breakthrough in your marriage. As a matter of fact, one of our other fundamental principles is that you do not have marriage problems. You are two individuals with their own problems coupled together in a marriage. And until we get both of you to address the problems, the baggage that you brought into your marriage, and not just the problems that got created in your marriage, when you both get healed on your own together, you will respond to each other from a very different place. In other words, a place of healing rather than a place of hurt. And so once we get those done, now we can teach good communication, good financial planning, good conflict resolution, setting boundaries, all those kind of things, and they will stick.
What's the greatest lesson about marriage that you've learned that you could pass on to the younger generation?
Well, first of all, marriage is I do once and I will over and over again. And what I mean by that is the wedding vows are very important, they're sacred, but that is only the beginning. When you live out your marriage, you have to make choices over and over again. I will love. Sometimes we think of love as just an emotion that comes and goes. No, love is a decision, a choice that we make. And so when our spouse does something that upsets us, then we have to say, no, I will. I will overlook or I will work through whatever the decision may be. And so it's a series of daily choices, sometimes multiple choices in a single day that you have to keep on making. And it's the things that you do on a daily basis that actually determine the longevity of your marriage. So if you develop some good habits, for example, complimenting your spouse at every available opportunity, that's a great habit that will stand you in good stead in building a long-lasting marriage.
To end this podcast, we have two questions. The first question is, if you could live your life over again, what is one thing that you would do differently?
Well, the one common thread that I can look back and see in my life is that there were times when opportunities were presented to me and I didn't act on them quickly enough. I spent time overthinking them, over-researching them. You know, you probably heard the saying that the opportunity of a lifetime must be taken advantage of in the lifetime of that opportunity. And over the years, I have let some of those great opportunities slip by. And so if I were to go back and do my life again, that's what I would act a lot more quickly and then make adjustments as I went along, rather than waiting for everything to be right before I actually even embark on something.
And we end today with our final question. What is one key message that you could give us today that our listeners could apply practically in their lives this week?
Well, this is not my saying, but I've heard someone say, you always look for the gold in the dirt. And it's very easy to look at someone and see all their flaws, all their faults, especially with people close to you, because you spend a lot of time with them, whether it's your spouse, your children, your co-workers, your employees, your boss, whoever the case may be, or even people in your church. It's very easy to just see their obvious and glaring faults, and anybody can spot them. But to me, it takes someone of character to be able to say, no, I know it's there. I'm not going to somehow gloss over all the faults and all the dirt that I see, but I'm going to look for the gold, and I'm going to offer someone a word of encouragement and help them to see something in them, maybe that they don't even see themselves possessing, and then they will grow into that, and that will give you great satisfaction in life when you see people blossom because you chose to highlight the gold and not just the dirt.
Great news, everyone. We would like to give away one copy of this book. Simply like our video and comment below for a chance to get one for free. You're going to love it.